What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video I have another unboxing. Didn't think it'd be so soon that I would acquire another Frontier model, especially one of the current iteration, because as I mentioned before, I wouldn't get any more Frontier models unless I flew them. Well, alas, the one that I have here is another one that I have flown, which I didn't even know about until I was just going back through all my Frontier tails that I've spotted throughout the years. And I came across a listing of one of the ones that I flew. So I tried searching for it. I found a couple places that had it, and then ultimately it was Waffle Collectibles that had it for a pretty good deal. I saw Squatchies had this one as well. But this one is, if I can see the tail in there, that'd be great, but it should be the right one. But this is another Frontier Airlines aircraft, the Airbus A321 Cubby the Bear. As you saw in the opening montage, I flew this aircraft home after the airliner's expedition, my last flight of the trip between Denver and Sioux Falls. My first flight on the Frontier A321, and will probably be my only one because they are planning to get rid of the A321 current engine options by the end of the decade, and then the A320s are also going to be going away soon, I think as early as by the end of this year even, so hopefully somebody does Hugh the Manatee, because I've seen that aircraft 4 times, and of course I flew that to get from Atlanta to Denver. Let's head up to the studio and unbox this. And here we go for the unboxing of the Aero Classics 1:400 scale Frontier Airlines Airbus A321 with the Cubby the Bear livery. Super excited to add another Frontier aircraft, so this will be, I've got the Griswold the Bear A320 by Gemini Jets. I have Mia the Dolphin A320neo by Aero Classics. Steve the Eagle A321 by Gemini Jets. And then the newest edition prior to this unboxing, Georgia the Painted Bunting A320neo by Aero Classics. And now this one, Cubby the Bear. So this will be my 5th current livery Frontier aircraft, which I didn't think I was going to need more Frontiers, but hey, this will certainly work for me, and I'm excited to get more flights in with them in the future. Their prices are pretty good. Obviously, the product leaves a lot to be desired, but how I view it is you kind of get what you pay for at times, so, you know, it is what it is. But I certainly enjoyed the flights that I had with Frontier, minus some of the delays that occurred, especially when I was getting to Denver and then flying back home from Atlanta to Sioux Falls via Denver. Had the delay on Hugh the Manatee because they swapped our aircraft a couple times. You'll be seeing that trip report in about a month from now from this video coming out, but be on the lookout for that as we go. So just like with Georgia the Painted Bunting, this is just the normal Aero Classics Baby Bus Models box. Not too much different to report on here. Oh, there goes the sun. But there is a little database sticker in here, and then there is the sticker for Cubby the Bear. Very nice to see that. This was released in September of 2021, actually a bit newer than some of their other Frontier models. They did a bunch in 2017 and 2018. They did a couple in 2022, and then some last year, the 321 Neos, which I got Ozzy the Orca out of. Didn't get the Bald Eagle one, since I haven't really flown that one yet, and I wanted a regular livery Neo instead of the special one, the first one that appeared on the first 3 anyway. Alright, Cubby the Bear, welcome to the fleet. Like I said, I didn't know that this one had been made, because originally I was supposed to be on Courtney the Cougar, and I knew that one was a model, but when they swapped me to Cubby the Bear, I didn't think that this one was a model, but sure enough, I was proven wrong, and that is beautiful. Super nice to add another Frontier model. Goodness me. Very excited. So that makes it now 4 aircraft in my collection that are exact tails that I've flown, which is an absolutely amazing accomplishment for just the 20 or so total flights I've taken. That counts the 4 contour flights that I took, which are all on the same aircraft. But yeah, I mean, I'll just show them here real quick since I'm on this topic. So here's the first one. The American A320, first released by Gemini Jets, exact registration, the second ever commercial flight I took, all the way back in 2018, now just over 7 years ago. This America West A319, this one's an exact match, which is 814 Alpha Whiskey. Flew this exact tail, of course with American colors, because I was not really, well, I was alive when America West existed, but I was still only a toddler by the time they had merged with US Airways. But this exact tail number I flew from Dallas to Sioux Falls in 2023 after that year's airliner show. And then from the most recent trip, there's Georgia the Painted Bunting, which I unboxed last week. You can go check out that unboxing. And then the newest addition to the collection, Cubby the Bear A321. Very excited to add this one to the fleet. It's crazy, I didn't think I was going to get this one so soon after I'd found out that, you know, this one existed as a model. I was expecting another long hunt for this one, but I got lucky with Georgia because, as I said, a good friend of mine sold his copy to me. And then in this case, I just found it on Waffle Collectibles. And I will tell you as well, that was the only one that they had on their website. The only Frontier A321. The only one! I got super lucky with that. And like I said earlier, Squatchies had it too, so even if that didn't happen, I would have probably gotten it from Squatchies anyway. Theirs was like $5 more, but, you know, it is what it is. I wouldn't have minded paying the extra few bucks if Waffle didn't have it, or it sold out on me. But there we go, Cubby the Bear A321. Starting off at the front, there you got the cockpit windows, which are a little bit askew, but that's just how Aero Classics is. Cubby the Bear titles, L1 door, and then there's the Frontier titles that come into play along with that blue little cheat line thing, which, as I mentioned before, Aero Classics, they don't print this properly because it's supposed to cut off right at the wing joint, which they do get correct on this 321 here, but on Georgia the Painted Bunting, if you can see that, you can see that blue line goes across the wings, which is not how it is on the actual aircraft, but just a little discrepancy there. So Frontier titles, which again, the colors are dark. That's just how Aero Classics is with their modern colors. There's the L3 door back there, and then the L4 door with flyfrontier.com titles. Registration is November 714 Foxtrot Romeo with the American flag, and Cubby the Bear on the tail. Then flip it over to the other side. This is the side of the aircraft that I sat on. I was in 9F on this flight, which I think was right about, I want to say like right in this area. I don't know the exact window that I was out of, but I will say that it was pretty far in front of the engines. You may have noticed that in the opening montage, that I did not have a great view of the wing and the engine. So I was definitely seated way up front. So it's probably like right around here, maybe between like the I and the E or the E and the R. Somewhere in that area is where I was seated. But there you can see the luggage door right there, one of the little luggage doors, and then two more there in the rear, and then Cubby the Bear on that side, which is also printed on the winglets pretty well, I would say. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it that well, at least on this aircraft. Try to get that to focus more on the winglet, which is not going to happen with me today. Actually, no, it did, and then I screwed it up by zooming in too much. That's what happens. And there you go, you can kind of see it, very pixelated, but it's a very tiny area of print to have. But I would say that the tail printing, they actually did pretty good with this, with Cubby the Bear. That looks really good. Georgia the Painted Bunting is also really good too. You can see that there. Very colorful, easy, it's not easy to miss. Very hard to miss with that tail. But as for this one, a little more subtle in terms of the colors and everything. And then flip it underneath, there's the bottom of the aircraft with the stand hole, landing gear doors, and then the top, just a beacon light included. Awesome model from Aero Classics, Cubby the Bear A321 joining the collection. Another tail that I have flown, and that will be my new policy moving forward with Frontier Airlines. The more flights that I rack up with them and the more tails that I get, and especially of tails that have been made in model form, then the more Frontier models that I will add. And also just like to mention as well, as of August 2025, 39 models have been made of the current Frontier Airlines, so this excludes the models made of the original iteration, which lasted from 1950 to 1986. And I just want to mention all the tail names that have been done. The 737s, they did not have tail names because they had different animal tails on each side of the aircraft. So like the left side would have, let's say, a lion, and then the right side would have a penguin. That's probably not a combination that existed, but it gets my point across, I would say. So on the 319, we had Sherman the Sea Lion, Hamilton the Hummingbird. Those are Dragon Wings aircraft. And then Gemini Jets released a pair of them. Jack the Snowshoe Hare, Perry the Horned Puffin. And then they also did a Q400, which was named Luke the Lynx Cub, which was operated by Lynx Aviation, there in the name. And then Velocity models, they were actually the first to do the new livery 320s that came out. They did it about a year after they had debuted or so. I think, actually no, it might have been 2015 maybe that they debuted, but I'll have to look back again. But we have Griswold the Bear and Orville the Red Cardinal. Those are the first two that got made. And then Aero Classics did 4 A321s. They did Otto the Owl, the first one, Max the Lynx, Courtney the Cougar, and Virginia the Wolf. And then Gemini did Griswold the Bear, which is the one that I have. And then Aeroclassics did several 320 Neos, Poppy the Prairie Dog, which Gemini ended up doing in 2022, Wilbur the Whitetail, and Flo the Flamingo. And then Gemini released Champ the Bronco in September 2017. Aeroclassics did a couple more Neos with Weston the Woodpecker, Flower the Hummingbird, Colorado the Bighorn Sheep, Georgia the Painted Bunting, and Mia the Dolphin, along with Sunny the Collared Lizard, all in 2018. So I have Mia and Georgia now. And then 2021 was when Steve the Eagle got released by Gemini Jets, and then Cubby the Bear got released in September 2021 alongside Baja the Whale Shark in that same batch. 2022, Aeroclassics did Powder the Polar Bear and Edwin, and Eddie the Penguins. And then after that, we had some A318s from NG with Charlie the Cougar and the Grizzly Bear, which would just be named Griswold, and also Montana the Elk. And then we have Ozzy the Orca and Chopper the Great White Shark in April 2024, and then May of 2024, the latest Airbus Frontier that's been released would be Edward the Bald Eagle, which is that America's Greenest Airline livery that was introduced on a 321 Neo. So that is that's just a brief history of all the Frontier tails that have been made, at least the ones that have names anyway. And, you know, like I say, Mad Bay is a great place to find all this information. It's very fascinating to look this up. And on one more note as well, I have spotted 83 Frontier tails. 83 of them. So that does include a couple that I have flown, which I didn't spot, which both of these I had not spotted before, Cubby the Bear and Georgia the Painted Bunting. Whereas with Wiley the Bison and Hugh the Manatee, I had seen them, and coincidentally, those two don't exist as models, which I'm a bit surprised by. So hopefully somebody does Hugh the Manatee, and I asked Aeroclassics to make Wiley the Bison. Hopefully that comes sooner or later. But that'll do it for this unboxing. Super excited to add another Frontier aircraft, and this one will certainly get some usage in my airport updates. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.